Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are we doing? Welcome to Arrow Slingers. We're doing our mid-year review. We're just over halfway through the year now, probably a month over halfway, so I'm a little bit late, but why not wait for the World Match Play to be done and dusted? Because it's sort of the beginning of the second half of the year, I would say, but kind of like the Worlds is placed at the end of the year. I count that as World Championships as the end of last year because I think it was 2 days into this year. And Match Play I sort of count as sort of the start but end, you know what I mean? Because we don't have enough majors for the first half of the year to really look into it too much. So, yeah, Match Play, I'm calling it the first half of the year. It was a massive tournament. We've already spoken about that. We don't see much of the European Tour or the Players' Championship events on TV a lot during the first half of the year. Sometimes you can watch it on YouTube, catch up, or on the PDC app, but there's no big live events happening on Fox Sports or anything like that, or even Sky Sports. And most of it is behind closed doors for the Players' Championship events. The Euro Tour is online. Not online, but they do put it on, but not for us over here in Australia. We've got to either catch up on YouTube or watch it on the PDC TV app, a subscription. So, because we don't see a lot of that, most of what you've seen is the Premier League and the World Series. And now that sort of correlates to the same players. We've seen a lot of the same players so far this year. As good as it is to see Johnny Clayton versus Michael van Gerwen consistently, we want to see more players. Dimitri Van den Bergh gave the World Series a big shot in the arm when he came along. It was great to see him after we had the Premier League and then the New York, which was all the Premier League players except no Joe Cullen and had Fallon Sherrick. That was the only difference. So that was once again just like a night, and with only one player making it through from the American contingent, it was just like another night of the Premier League. So, yeah, having Dimitri Van den Bergh step in was good. We just want to see them all. So PDC majors so far. So you had the Masters real early on. That's the first one up. Basically, end of January. First one back since it's pretty much the first thing back for all the players from the Worlds. And, Joe Cullen beat Dave Chisnell in that one. And that's what got Joe Cullen into the Premier League, basically. Geez, it would have been fantastic to see Chizzy come through and get himself into the Premier League from there. That would have been fantastic. I wonder if they would have made a different decision because Chizzy hadn't been tearing it up as much as Joe Cullen had been. But we don't have to worry about that. Simon Whitlock had a great run at that one. He had a late call-up. I think Danny Knoppet pulled out. So Simon Whitlock was 25th in the world. Danny Knoppet pulled out to be there while his wife had the baby. And he had a great run. He made it to the quarters, looked really solid, beat Peter Wright. Last leg decider against Jose de Souza in that quarter-final. So very much could have gone the other way for Simon. But looked great on the big stage. UK Open, Danny Knoppet beat Michael Smith in not the most electrifying statistics-wise. It was a 92 average to an 84, but tense nonetheless, and Danny Knoppet got over the line. Damon Hedder made the quarters in that one. Gordon Mathers lost in the second round to Rowby John Rodriguez. He averaged 92 himself, but Rowby John was on that day, and that was unfortunate. That was because they all come in at different stages. We've spoken about that before. That was actually Gordon Mathers' first crack that tournament. So he was out first round, basically. Whitlock out in the round 5 after coming in at round 4. So okay for him, but not fantastic. And Damon Hedder was going to speak a little bit about that shortly when we go through all the 3 Aussies, but he made the quarters as well. I already said that Hedder made quarters. Premier League, Michael van Gerwen beat out Joe Cullen. Johnny Clayton was amazing through the whole thing. He looked like winning it all season, but didn't quite get through there. The World Cup, Australia beat Wales to win that. They're basically your big majors that have been played. There's been a lot of European Tour action, a lot of Players' Championship action. And there's been a few World Series events with Dimitri winning 2 and Michael Smith winning the other. But yeah, so that's the 3 majors that you've got done and dusted, with plenty to come at the back end of the year. Look, if we go through the main thing to take out of those majors, obviously you just had the World Match Play of Michael van Gerwen beating Gerwyn Price. The main thing to take out of it is the Premier League format. Initially, I thought, this could be a little bit exciting. As it went on, I was like, it's okay. It's what it is. What it is. They're going to stick with it. Now that it's had time to settle, like I started to turn a little bit towards not being overly keen on it. Now I'm definitely really not keen on it. I think it's, to me, after the dust has settled, it's not ideal. You know, the little mini tournament. That's basically what they do every other week. That's where the Premier League was different and exciting, and why it was such an amazing thing we'll call it a thing. Amazing thing for the PDC, because it was so much different and it was the best players in the world. If you bring the best players in the world and you're only going to use those, I think you need to have that bit of difference to everything else. Otherwise, it does just look like the World Series now, because a lot of the World Series events, qualifiers don't make it through. Fingers crossed the Aussie boys, when they come down, get it done. But yeah, you want that point of difference. Now, I'm just going to run through a few top threes. I think I have top fives at one of them. Yeah, top three, top five. Just some of the things that I've noticed so far through the first half of the year. So I'll start with the low point of my three disappointments in three disappointing players so far this year. Now, sometimes it's all just based on what I can see, what I expected, and just who hasn't performed as well as they possibly could. So number 3 is Callum Ridds. So after his amazing run at the World Championships, where he dropped just one set on his way to the quarterfinals against Peter Wright, where he took Peter Wright all the way. Since then, he's just made one final at the Players' Championships, 2 quarterfinals, and 1 European Tour semi-final. So definitely expected Callum Ridds to push on from that performance. His match play was incredibly disappointing, just the 2 legs on the board. I think I mentioned him quite a few times throughout this podcast of how disappointing he has been, and it probably seems a bit harsh, but that's only because the way he played at the Worlds, he really showed that he had what it took to go to that next level, and we all thought, I'm not the only one that thinks it, we all thought it was time for him to stand up. The next one is the world number 2 in my second spot here, Peter Wright. So, after winning the Worlds, he won Premier League Week 1. After a bit of a disappointing Masters, he got touched up by Simon Whitlock, but he was using completely different darts that no one had ever seen in their life, so bit of a let-off there. But since then, he won Players' Championship 2 after Premier League Week 1. He won that. And I think he made the European Tour final very close to that, when it was a shootout for world number 1 spot v. Gerwyn Price. But nothing since then, pretty much. Not even many semis and quarters. Just a lot of first-round exit sort of stuff. He was pretty good at the match play, but just didn't get it done against Dimitri, I believe. So bit disappointing, but I'm expecting Peter Wright to absolutely turn on. Only disappointing because we love watching him hit his best form, Peter Wright. So that's why it's a bit disappointing that we just haven't quite got to see him hit absolutely top form, because when he does, he is absolutely amazing to watch. Number 1, he hasn't gotten a mention basically the entire year, Alan Suter. So he once again was like Callum Ridds in an astonishing performance at the Worlds. Once again made it through to the quarters. Not quite as easily, I think it was the quarters, maybe the round before the quarters. Not quite as easily as Callum Ridds did. But he hadn't even turned pro. I think had only just gotten his tour card that year. That go, I think he got it at Q School then and there. So a bit disappointing that he hasn't done more with it so far. But I think it'll turn and it'll come. My top 3 matches for the year. Australia, Belgium. This is number 3. Australia versus Belgium. The whole tie at the World Cup was awesome to watch. You had Dimitri and Damon go at it, and Dimitri get across the line in a pretty high quality affair. And then Simon Whitlock absolutely bring his A game to beat Kim Huybrechts. And then an Australian masterclass in the doubles decider to get it done. They absolutely blitzed them, averaging 107, I think it was, with well over 116 at one point. So that was fantastic. Michael Van Gerwen versus Gerwyn Price is in the number 2 spot, the match play final. Great finishing. All that was lacking was a bit of a Gerwyn Price purple patch, which would have put it to stratospheric levels of quality and probably one of the greatest matches of all time. But it was maybe didn't quite have the drama. It was Gerwyn Price got out to a lead and Michael Van Gerwen pegging him back, but the quality was there, the big finishing, the high scoring, it was pretty tense. Number one, and now I probably did this at the quarter way of the year, and I've probably gone back on what I've said then anyway. Look how good I am. Gary Anderson versus Damon Hedder at Players Championship 5. I'll try and find the link and link it for you guys. But that Players Championship, that final was outstanding. So this was the weekend after Gary had just won the Premier League when he went absolutely ballistic. And he averaged 106, 107 for the day, not just in 1 or 2 matches. That was his day average. So that is next level impressive. Damon Hedder had some pretty good averages all day, but took it to the next level against Gary Anderson. So it was 107 to 106, I think, in the final. And it was just ridiculous stuff. I don't think there was anything over 15 darts. So that was an outstanding game of darts. And if we can get a link to it, we will. So this is probably the most important important list that I'll do right this second. And it's my top 5 players so far for 2022. These are the players that I think have had the most impact and done the best and performed the best. Basically, all round been the best player so far in 2022. An unlucky 6th position was Joe Cullen. I had to leave him out. He won the Masters and got himself to the final of the Premier League. That's pretty outstanding. Number 5, Gerwyn Price. He hasn't won much it's hard to say, but he hasn't really won too many tournaments yet. He did make this final of the match play, final of the World Cup. He's won a Euro Tour, I think 1 or 2 Players Championship events. But he regained the number 1 spot in the world, and he has 4 9-dart legs for the year. Now, a lot of people say that doesn't win your matches, and everyone that hits 9s lose. The 3 that he's thrown 9 darts in, he's won. One was at that outstanding Premier League night, which is the best anyone's looked for probably 24, maybe not 24 months, since Peter Wright at the World Match Play last year, I'd say. That's the best anyone's looked for a long time, individually. Of course, individually it starts. But you know what I mean, like unstoppably good. That was just a patch where no one was getting near him. James Wade played amazing to actually get close to him in the final, but it was outstanding. Number 4, Dimitri Vandenberg. Now, he could also probably feature, and I've got a list coming up for big second half of the year 4. And this Dimitri, it is a big second half of the year 4. So because of the World Match Play rankings, how he won it 2 years ago, that comes off. So only his semi-final goes on. So he did actually, after making a semi-final World Match Play, has dropped down a significant number of spots. I think he's dropped down from, correct me if I'm wrong, no one listening, either 8th to 14th or it's 9th to 14th, but it is 5 to 6 spots he has dropped. However, after he wasn't in the Premier League, didn't do too well at the first 2 majors, and after a disappointing Worlds as well, he's really bounced back from there. So of late, his European Tour, his Players Championship stuff has been fantastic. He's made a couple of finals, I think won one, and then went on and won the 2 World Series events. They're not ranked, but they're massively important because of the exposure that you get. The point of the World Series is to take it to other places and to bring it to light, so you get all the English people watching to see all these other players in different places, all the European people, I guess, because there's more European audience now than it is just England. So all the European audience tunes in to watch the PDC over in the United States, Australia, and all that, because they want to see those other players and what's available and what's out there. They're all going to be dying to watch Raymond Smith, I guarantee you that. So he won 2 of those back-to-back, so that's really important for Dimitri, and it sets him up really well. Number 3, so I've gone with Danny Knoppet. Now, I earmarked him at the very start of this podcast as a potential up-and-coming player, based on what I saw in the BDO when he came over as well to play at the Grand Slam. From the BDO side of things, his finishing is outstanding, next level good, and once he gets his scoring going, which he doesn't always do, but when he gets his scoring going, he is performing extremely well. So he's won a couple of Players' Championship events now, doing really well on the Euro Tour, a semi-final at the World Match Play, him and Dirk did pretty well at the World Championships, better than I thought they would. He won the UK Open. I think he made the final. No, he made the semi-final at the Dutch Darts Masters. So Danny Knoppet is playing really, really good darts at the moment, and he's finding himself at the pointy end of most tournaments that he's in. And it's because his scoring has shot up to match his quality finishing. Number 2, the bully boy Michael Smith. For a while, a patch there, probably 2 months, he was the number 1 player in the world, and looked like he was ready to just tear it up and go on a 12-month stretch of winning everything that he went near. It hasn't worked out just yet, but it is going to get there. So he won the US Darts Masters. He won a couple of back-to-back Players Championship events. I think he won them back-to-back, so matched Joe Cullen's run of 17 matches straight on the floor. His European Tour stuff, not quite as impressive, but definitely had a patch there of looking like the most amazing player in the world and almost unbeatable at times. So, and in the Premier League wasn't disgraced. I know he didn't finish where he would have liked, but definitely got the win on the board at the end there, but was not really getting disgraced. There was a lot of players winning with lower averages than Michael Smith was losing. All right, so that brings us to, drum roll, our number 1 player for the year, and a lot of people probably disagree with it and say just going with the flow, just saying it because it's him. But Michael van Gerwen, in my opinion, has been the best player so far this year. The fact that he's in this second half of the first half, so the second quarter, he's gone on and won the World Match Play and the Premier League. They're 2 of the big 3 tournaments. So no matter what else you do all year, if you win those 2 tournaments, it's a pretty darn successful first half of the year, building yourself towards the Grand Prix, Grand Slam, and most importantly, the World Championships. In patches has looked absolutely outstanding. He won 3 Premier League nights, I think. He's had 1 or 2 European Tour as well as 1 or 2 Players Championship events. So hard to argue that he hasn't been the number 1 player this year. I just think, and he's only going to go strength to strength. He was injured for half of that. He's definitely hitting better form than he was the first half of the year. All right, 3 players to watch out for in the second half of the year. I think these 3 are ready to knock it out the park. So Danny Knoppet, I know he's number 3 on my list of top players in the world for the first half of the year, but I think he's only going to get better and potentially could be higher than that, but definitely going to up his ranking positions. I think he's one of my early tips for the Grand Prix, given his doubling standard, so the double in, double out tournament, that's going to help him massively. And I think, I just think it's his time now to push right up into that top 16 and cement. I think he already is. I think he might even be 12th, but top 10 and push a few of those out and maybe even make it into the top 8 and almost book himself a Premier League spot next year. Number 2, Peter Wright is ready to tear it apart. Do not expect him to keep going the way he has been. I know he's not well at the moment. He'll get past that, and I think he'll build nicely towards Peter Wright at the moment. I think, honestly, he cares about the World Championships. That's what he's aiming for. That's what he's building for every year. So don't be surprised if Peter Wright gets on an absolute tear very soon. All right, number 1, my player to watch out for the second half of this year, Dirk van Duijvenbode. Now, initially I wasn't a huge fan of Dirk. I don't know why, but after watching him closely and doing this podcast and paying a lot more attention to all the characters of darts, everything that they do, not just their scoring, but off the oche, on the oche, their presence on stage, how they interact with the fans. Everything about Dirk van Duijvenbode screams quality and great TV stage quality. So I think you're looking at him being in the Premier League next year. He is what they are after. If he's not in it through being in the top 4, then he will be one of Sky Sports or the PDC's personal picks, I believe, just due to his engagement with the crowd. and the fact that he can handle it, he can match it. So some of the finals that he has put up on the Pro Tour have been nuts standard, like 108 in the final, 111 in the final. He gets on a tear, Dirk van Dijvenbode, and just absolutely goes nuts. He took care of Michael Smith at the World Match Play. Absolutely took care of him. It was not even a stress. So watch out for Dirk van Dijvenbode this second half of the year. If you agree with that, please comment, let me know. That's probably the most important part of this show, is that those three players to watch out for. So comment on the whole lot if you think, but I really want to know what you all think about Dirk van Dijvenbode. Big second half of the year. I've got three players' names here, big second half. So these guys, for different reasons, I'll go through it, in for a big second half. Damon Hedder wants, needs, and is going to have a big second half of the year. So it's a massive push now for Damon Hedder. His world championship. So everything that was happened 2 years ago is now coming off the rankings. But Damon Hedder don't have a lot to defend there. He didn't have a huge... I'm going to bring it up. I know I do this every week. I'm supposed to have researched this. But I'm going to bring up what he had in the second half of 2022 to talk about what is coming off his championships. So 2020 Grand Slam, he had a quarter final, so he's in that this year, and I think he'll make better than a quarter final. Players Championships quarter final, I think he can do better than that. World Grand Prix, which he is now in, he didn't even compete at that, so free hit there for him. European Championships he wasn't at, so free hit there for him. And World Championships in 2020 he made the second round. So not much to defend in the way of rankings for Damon Hedder, but a lot to gain. So I think it's going to be a massive second half of the year for him. He'll get his form going. He's going to get used to being on stage. The way he hits double 16, he's like Danny Knoppet. He's going to be a massive threat at the Grand Prix with the way he can hit that and get himself in every leg. And just get used to the big stage, because he is a big stage guy. He'll start to feel a bit of pressure, I think, to perform the way everyone knows he can. All right, number 2, Rob Cross, defending a win at the European Championships, a quarter-final of the Grand Slam, so a fair bit coming off for Rob Cross. I don't think his Worlds was too good at the end of 2020, but there's still a lot coming up, and he hasn't been on the big stage as much, so he just doesn't want to drop off too much. Glenn Durrant. Now, we all know, everyone's spoken about the struggles Glenn Durrant had, or is having, and that he has potential to lose his tour card. What people aren't looking at properly is what he is defending, what is coming off the back end of his rankings, is not much. There's not much coming off the back end of Glenn Durrant's rankings. So, similar situation as to what I'm saying for Damon Hedder. It's a big push now for him to get himself right back up there. I do not doubt that he can do it. I think he's primed and ready to go. So we just spoke a little bit about Damon Hedder, about what he's got coming up. It's been fantastic. We've spoken so much about him on this show. Some of his stats are phenomenal. I was going to say astronomical and phenomenal at the same time. Phenomenal. That's how we describe Damon Hedder here. Phenomenal. So he's won a Players' Championship events in a lot of the finals, won the World Cup, and just doing outstanding and right up there. Simon Whitlock, so he had that good run at the Masters, a win at the World Championships, a couple of good runs at the Players' Championships. Right now, he's $5,000 ranking points out of the Grand Prix race. He's in the Grand Slam due to the World Cup win. He's in the Players' Championships. 2,000 ranking points out of the European Championships. I think he'll be able to qualify for all those. He'll get that done. It's not a lot of money with quite a few Players' Championships coming up. So, that's good news for Simon. Gordon Mathers, he's on par for the Players' Championship event at the Players' Championship finals in terms of ranking. He's 5,000 out of the World Championships. Gordon Mathers is not defending anything. He is defending 0. This is his second year on the tour. So 2 years ago, he wasn't even on the tour. So anything he earns now, the people ahead of him will be defending some. So he is primed to push for both those things. So I'm sure he'll get into the Players' Championships and he will get into the World Championships and secure a card for next year. All right, so a bit of WDF action happening now. We don't normally cover much of the WDF stuff because there are a few issues with it that are a bit sketchy. I'll go through it at the end of this little section that we're doing here as to why. But we'll just start off with the good news, is that the Australian Darts Open is on this weekend in Moama. It's been a couple of years now since they've been out here due to COVID and all that sort of stuff. And it's on Fox Sports. Fox Sports are covering it. That's absolutely crazy. What a missed opportunity for the DPA. If you look at the PDC compared to the WDF over in Europe, the PDC smashes the pants off the WDF by a country mile. Yet over here, we're covering the WDF stuff and we're not covering the DPA PDC stuff. I cannot get my head around it. I really struggle with it to comprehend why that's happening, but it is happening and there's not much we can do about it right this second. So we're just going to go the flow, but we are going to see some great Australian talent playing darts. So qualification, it's not a little bit tricky, but a bit different. So they bring the 2022 World Lakeside World Champion, which is the WDF's World Championships. The top 2 WDF ranked men, the top 3 Aussie WDF ranked men, top 2 New Zealand WDF ranked men. They're your 8 seeded men. Then you've got 8 state qualifiers and 8 open qualifiers. As of the moment we're recording this, the open qualifiers are being played, so we don't know them yet. And the qualification for the ladies is very similar, except less people. So you've got the world champion, I think it's top seed WDF ranked player, and then 2 Aussies, 2 Kiwis. Maybe it's the top 3. I don't know. But there's only 8 4-seeded players and 4 others. Get your head around that. I didn't explain that very well. Hopefully I'll write it down later. So for the men's side of things, there's 8 groups of 3. Obviously, 1-seeded player will go into each group for a round robin, best of 9. The top of each group goes through to the quarterfinals, which is best of 11. Semi-final, best of 15. Final, best of 19. So you seeded players, the 2022 Lakeside World Champion Neil Duff. Yellow Klassen is coming out. Hopai Puha is there as well. So I know I said the rankings are the top 2 WDF ranked. Yellow Klassen, one of them. Luke Littler pulled out, so he was not in. He was replaced by Mal Cumming. And someone else pulled out, but I can't remember who it was, and replaced by Sammy Ballinger from Victoria. So you've got those players, Hopai Puha, Raymond Smith, Peter Matchin, Jeremy Fagg, Mal Cummings, Sam Ballinger. They're all your seeded players, so they will get a spot in each group. Your state qualifiers, Donovan Lottering, I haven't heard of him. Darren Carson, the old flex. Kai Smith, great to see him up. Aaron Morrison, David Platt, Jamie Rundle, can't wait to see Jamie Rundle. Leon Towns from Tasmania, haven't heard of. And Brandon Weaning from Victoria, who was primed and ready to go for the Youth World Championships over in Germany, I think. Open qualifiers not available yet. So there's definitely some names we haven't seen there. So Donovan Lottering, Leon Towns, Aaron Morrison I haven't seen a lot of. Peter Matchin I haven't seen a lot of either. Most of the other guys I've seen some of. Ben Robb pulled out. That's the other name that pulled out. Now, so if with a seeded player going through each group, look, there's quite a few upsets that could happen. I don't think Neil Duff, I was supposed to check this earlier as well, is in as great a form as he was when he won the World Championships. Sorry, excuse my face in your face, but I do need to check that and have my stats on point. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, so it's all... Form is important, especially due to... I don't know, like he's got to travel over as well. So all that I can see on here is he's only playing an online league, which is crazy to think. So you can't take anything away from the way he's playing. He's had a loss there. Yeah, you can't compare playing online to playing in person. So the last matches it has is that there was the World Championship, which obviously he won. So yeah, it doesn't read fantastic. I'm sure he's playing in some stuff, but the stuff we have access to is not much. So I don't even think Neil Duff gets out of his group. Yellow Klassen, similar story. I don't know how he's going to be handling it. Like, a lot's gone wrong for Yellow Klassen since that feud with MVG, and it's just not gone his way. A lot of the others possibly get out of their group. It all depends who qualifies too. Like, you had some of the qualifiers were being played while I was online, and Rob Modger threw 100 average. Stewie Coburn was throwing well again. Brody Clinge was throwing well. So there's some high quality players there to take them out. If I'm going to pick a winner, I'm going to go with either Jamie Rundle or Raymond Smith to win that whole tournament. It's definitely going to be an Australian, no doubt about that. So the women's side, basically the similar concept, but only 4 groups. Round robin, best of 9. They're 4 groups of 3. Semi-final, best of 11. Final, best of 15. 1 of each group. Seeded players, Bo Greaves, Kirsty Hustichin, Suzuki Muruku, and Lisa Ashton. Ranked qualifiers, Wendy Harper from New Zealand, Tori Kewish, Amanda Locke, and Nicole Reno, I think I'm pronouncing that right, from New Zealand as well. So Ashton will win this. She's the big draw card here. A massive reason why everyone's going to watch. Like, the WDF stuff just does not get the coverage, and the names just aren't quite as big. So even the name Bo Greaves has been talked about a lot. Neil Duff coming over. It's like, yeah, Neil Duff. No one's super excited about that. Yellow Klassen, a little bit excited, but that's because of the PDC side of things. Lisa Ashton is a massive draw card. She is huge, and there will be a lot of people going to watch her. I'll take my Aussie hat off here and say she's going to win it in an absolute canter. She's playing some of the best darts you'll ever see women play. She is, in my opinion, going to go down as the greatest ladies player ever. I know Trina Gulliver won 10 world championships, but Lisa Ashton, in my opinion, is the best ladies player in the world at the moment, and probably of all time. So now we'll wrap this all up. It's awesome to have this event available to watch on Fox Sports. You probably can even go there and watch it live in person if you're vaccinated. Probably it's an open, so you can go there and have a crack if you want. I think the opens have been played, run and won. But it has its flaws. The tournament side of it, it's great to have it. I'm going to watch it. It's great to watch darts. But as a tournament, it's a strange concept that I'm struggling to get my head around. It is a WDF Platinum ranked event, so basically the highest it can get besides the World Championships. Yet you've only got 4 international women invited and just 3 international men invited. The Premier League's not ranked. I don't think a tournament can be ranked if there's not a great chance for a largish percentage of your inclusion to be available or easily available. We can all say that, yes, it is because it's an open tournament, but it's not realistic for people to fly halfway around the world to compete in this tournament. Moama wouldn't even be able to handle it anyway. It's really unachievable to hand out all those ranking points, to have it so highly ranked when not that many people are able to get there. As I said, 3 international players. The WDF rankings, there's 1,133 men on their rankings. This is a tournament for 24 people, and it's a platinum ranked tournament. So it is just a strange concept that all this goes towards being ranked for their championships, which is then for a world championship. Yeah, it's you know what I mean? Like, it's just not... It's hard to say world champion when it's not even available to the world. It's only available to 24 people out of the 1,133 that are ranked on your list. But yeah, we'll see how they go. I think it's great to see Fox Sports covering it. I think they're bringing their own commentary team in and coverage team in from England. So we don't know. Yeah, I'm sure they'll do a good job. But yep, it'll still be fantastic to watch. As I said, I'll definitely be watching it. It has juniors, it has doubles as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. And it'll be good. We'll jump on next week and have a bit of a recap, a review of it. As I said, it's going to be great to see. We haven't seen much of Ray and Kai since the World Championships. Jamie Rundle is a former, I think he won the doubles World Championship on the WDF side or something along those lines. So he is a world-class player. As I said, there were some brilliant world-class players playing well at the qualifiers. So the quality will be there. It's going to be fantastic to see, as I said, Jamie Rundle or Raymond Smith to win it. And on the female side, Lisa Ashton, no doubt. Tell me what you think, and I will see you all later. Shockers. If I can hit the end, that's awkward. I can't hit the live video end. Done.